Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Season 2 of The Great. So, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and my feels for Season 2 of The Great, which airs on Hulu, and this season consisted of 10 glorious, marvelous episodes. Huzzah! So yeah, as far as spoilers go, I'm going to try my best and refrain from spoilers in regards to Season 2. But yeah, in order to talk about Season 2, I do have to maybe mention some things that happened, at the very end of Season 1. So if you are just not caught up with Season 1 at all, you probably need to stay clear of this video. But yeah, as far as Season 2 is concerned, I'm going to try my best to keep away from spoilers. But if you guys have seen Season 2, please, by all means, down in the comment section, feel free to talk about this season with me because I loved it. There was a lot of great stuff that was going on, and I definitely am curious your thoughts on a potential Season 3. So yeah, let's get going with my thoughts and my feels for Season 2 of The Great. I love this season, you guys. It was amazing. I was a little concerned heading into this second season, like, oh my god, what if it's not as good as Season 1, but fortunately I think it was just as good. The thing about Season 1 in some ways was so very unexpected and in some ways brand new territory. I went into Season 1 not quite sure what to expect, and I was just so pleasantly surprised with how Season 1 turned out to be, because I wasn't expecting it to be as humorous and satirical as it was, but also some deeper, heartfelt, emotional moments hidden in there, within the humorous layers. So yeah, the journey of Season 1, it was a literal journey from episode 1 to 10 that first season, because you weren't quite sure what to expect and where it was going to go. You were learning about these characters and this world and this environment, and yeah, learning the mood and the tone that the show was taking. So the good thing about Season 2, you're already in there, you're already familiar with the mood and the tone and the type of humor that's going to be presented, the satire that's going to be presented. Moving into Season 2, you just kind of sandwiched your way right into there with no problem. I think it was just a nice little flow right back into it, like you're revisiting familiar friends, I guess. But yeah, I absolutely loved Season 2. It was everything I was hoping it would be. And like I said about Season 1, Season 2 definitely retains that very familiar mood and tone, the satirical nature, and it just so brilliantly has a great balance of that humor versus the moments that are more dramatic or the moments that do have a lot more emotion to it. I think the show handles those shifting moods and emotions. I think it just handles those in just a perfect fine balance. It knows when to play with the humor, it knows when to play with the drama, because sometimes if you mesh those two worlds of humor and seriousness, if you mesh it just in weird ways, sometimes it can kind of backfire. But I think this show, the writers are very clever and brilliant, and they know how to play with the dramatic and the comedy, I think, quite brilliantly. So yeah, where are we at the start of Season 2? Because Season 1 ended, Catherine, who eventually becomes Catherine the Great, has anyone on the show actually technically referred to her as Catherine the Great? I'm trying to recall now. I don't think they have reached that point yet. I think that's kind of what the show is building up to, is kind of get into that point where she will for sure be known as Catherine the Great, But yeah, at the very end of Season 1, Catherine, she finally, her plans for, performing the coup on her husband Peter and whatnot, all of that came to fruition. She's able to take the castle. make war against Peter, essentially, and the people on his side. Yeah, and we see what happens to her lover Leo and whatnot. We're kind of left in the dark there with him, heading into season 2. Did he live? Did he die? What happened there? So yeah, that was kind of the end of season 1, essentially. So at the start of season 2, the coup is still in full swing. I think it takes place about 4 months after the events of season 1, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I heard someone mention, hey, it's been 4 months, this and that, So that's where we are at the start of season 2, is just right there in the midst of the coup, and Catherine's side, Peter's side. And this whole season is definitely very heavily focused on Catherine's journey, Peter's journey, and yeah, all done through satire. This show is definitely very heavy on the comedy and the satire. The show, the way the show uses satire, it's definitely poking fun at politics and government, and even poking fun at Russia itself, poking fun at just countries in general, yeah, poking fun at marriages and relationships and love, and yeah, Catherine, because at the very end of season 1 we do find out that Catherine is pregnant. So yeah, this whole entire season Catherine has to deal with the whole idea of motherhood coming to her, and what does that mean, and yeah, even Peter, because he knows he's going to be a father, yeah, Peter kind of coming to this realization, oh, am I going to be a good dad, am I going to be a bad dad, all of that stuff with the two of them, if they're going to be good parents, it's all really hilarious and comical throughout the entire season. And yeah, kind of going back to the satire of the show and whatnot, because I think the whole point of season 2, what the big thing of season 2 is very heavily focused on, is definitely just the nature of politics and government and leadership. All of that is a very flawed system at the end of the day. Nothing is ever perfect. Even when you want things to be perfect, things are never going to be perfect. There's always going to be pros and cons. There's always going to be the people that are against you, the people that are with you. So this show, it just really does all that so wonderfully well, because what the show also does, because the show is a historical fiction period piece to some degree, but as you notice at the top of every single episode, the title pops up saying The Great, and then there's an asterisk, and it always says an occasionally true story. Basically saying, yeah, there's a bit of truth and a bit of fact in this show, but it's mostly there's a lot of fiction in there. We're taking a lot of liberties and whatnot. So the show, even though it is a historical fiction period piece, the thing is, the show, as I keep mentioning, it is a satire primarily kind of about politics and government and leadership, and it's using the story of Catherine the Great and her relationship with Peter and her relationship with Russia. It's using all of that, as kind of this metaphor within the satire, I guess, to kind of showcase all of that stuff with politics and government and leadership and whatnot. Because yeah, as I said, it always says an occasionally true story, at the top of every episode title card and whatnot, So yeah, I loved the satire in particular this season, because yeah, Catherine, when we were first introduced to her in season 1, she had all these grand ideas of being in Russia, and more than anything, her relationship with Peter, that he was going to be this great love of her life, and they would get along, and this and that. But yeah, as we see over the course of season 1, Peter is an asshole. He is an asshole. He is a jerk. He's a bit of an idiot, a lovable idiot. But he's a monster at the end of the day. He's a tyrant. And that's what spurns Catherine into wanting to be a leader for Russia and to make Russia a better place, and enact new policies and new laws and get rid of Peter and his group, and like one of her big things is she wants to give women voices and give them rights and whatnot, and that continues into the second season. So her journey in season 2, because she has been burned by the end of season 1, essentially. She has been severely burned with just love and romance. She was so naive and innocent when she first came to Russia. And season 2, we do see a bit more of a harder Catherine in some ways, though she still does retain some of that naivety and innocence to some degree. She is still trying to grow and learn as a leader of Russia and whatnot. And yeah, she often has to deal with the fact that many of the people in Russia still consider her a German. She is not a natural born Russian. So that is a big obstacle she has to face throughout this entire season, is really trying to prove herself to everybody around her, especially the nobles who are more in support of Peter and whatnot. So I loved her journey this season, and I think her kind of coming to that realization that, she wants a perfect utopian society, but that's not really going to happen. It's never going to happen. No matter how hard you wish for something like that to happen, it will never happen. And yeah, I also really liked Peter's journey this season. Once again, he is such a lovable idiot, but yeah, Nicholas Hoult, you guys, just all of the applause for Nicholas Holt's performance, because he plays Peter with such brilliant nuance, because he has those moments where he plays Peter as a very lovable, immature idiot who is oftentimes very sex obsessed and whatnot and full of himself and arrogant. But then there are those moments where Nicholas Hoult can just turn that switch so brilliantly, and you do see that more monstrous side of Peter come out, the fear and the terror, and you get why people are so terrified of him, So yeah, Nicholas Hoult is definitely the bright shining light of this show. Nothing against Elle Fanning, obviously. Elle Fanning is just as remarkable as well, because she has a lot to do with this performance as well, having that more kind of lovable, innocent, naive side of Catherine, but then also she needs to flip that switch as well, and Catherine needs to be more serious and make really rough, tough decisions. But yeah, I really loved the journeys for both Peter and Catherine, that relationship, because their relationship is so complex, it's so incredibly flawed, but they have such great chemistry. Yeah, guys, seriously, Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult, it's like there's no one in the room half the time. It's just the two of them half the time, and they're just so remarkable together. I love any given scene between Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. It's always just such a joy. And yeah, once again, going back to the satire, because the whole show is poking fun at government and politics, and that relationship, that tension and complexity between Catherine and Peter, it's also part of that. Their marriage is part of everything kind of going on. That, because once again, as I mentioned, the whole show is really all about the fact that government and politics and leadership is never perfect. It's a flawed system. People are flawed, and that includes what's going on with Peter and Catherine. Their marriage is flawed, it's complex, it's not perfect, but it's the thing of, are they willing to try and fix it and make it work at all? Considering their two characters in some ways are polar opposites, but at the same time, are they possibly more alike than they realize? So yeah, where to move on to next. There's just so many great things about this season, you guys. I love everything about it. I love the entire cast of characters. I've already been gushing enough about Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. I do. All of your favorite characters are back. Gregor, Georgiana, the Archbishop, Mariel, everybody. You know, Orlo, Velementov, Aunt Elizabeth. Yeah, everybody is back this season, which is great. I love this entire cast. It is such a great ensemble of actors, and they all know the type of show they're in. You know, they all know that this is a wild, bizarre show. They all play into that quite brilliantly. No one ever holds back. Because some of the things that go on in this show are just so uniquely bizarre and wild and crazy and absurd, but it works, and it works in the context of what's going on. As far as some new characters are concerned, though, if you watch the trailers for this season, a big new character that's on the scene is the arrival of Catherine's mother, Joanna, played by Gillian Anderson. I won't say how many episodes Gillian Anderson is in, but the episodes that she is in are just so brilliant. Gillian Anderson is just such a fantastic actress, and she gives it all with this performance. And yeah, that mother-daughter relationship with Catherine and Joanna is very intriguing, very interesting, and yeah, without going into spoilers, yeah, Catherine's mother, that arrival really pushes the show in the direction that it goes to the very end of the season, pretty much. There's some big, very heavy, pivotal things that happen with the arrival of her mother that really pushes the show forward in some interesting ways. Yeah, and I guess that's pretty much it, you guys. I just love this second season. Just everything I was hoping it would be. Just so clever, brilliant, wonderfully written and acted. I just love the whole look of this world. It's just so vibrant and colorful, you know, because historical fiction period dramas tend to be a little bit more on the maybe dark and dreary side on occasion. But yeah, this show is just so full of vibrancy and color. And yeah, is it anachronistic in places? Hell yes. Is there a lot of historical inaccuracies? Hell yes. But I mean, you know that, you know, when you're watching this show, you're definitely aware of that there's a lot of inaccuracies in this show. I'm definitely super excited for a season 3, you guys, because I was curious. I had a whole game plan in the back of my head watching this entire season. I thought I knew where this season was going to end, and it totally just kind of diverged from what I was kind of expecting the finale to be, because I was sitting there thinking, oh, are we even going to have a season 3, you know? But yeah, it looks like we're definitely going to have a season 3. I definitely cannot wait to see what a season 3 will explore. And yeah, at this point, it's definitely safe to say the show has definitely taken its own huge amount of historic liberties, we shall say, and I'm totally fine with that because I love these characters so much, and it's like I want to see more and more of them and see what they get up to. So yeah, overall, I love season 2. You guys, give me more. I hate that it's like 10 episodes because I could just sit and watch it every single day because these characters are just so weirdly lovable. I love it. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on season 2 of The Greats. In the comments below, have you guys seen season 2? What were the things that you loved about it? Or maybe you didn't like it. What do you expect for a season 3? How do you feel about the relationship between Peter and Catherine? You know, it is a complex, flawed, perhaps very toxic relationship, but I am absolutely all for it. Because Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult have such incredible chemistry. It's like they have this really brilliant love-hate relationship, which is so great. So yeah, how do y'all feel about just everything that was going on this season? And yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.